with this one. I use this one.
That's right.
All right. How hard do I? Well, they told me to hit it on the edge.
That's right. That's what I said.
Right here.
Oh, no.
No?
It's anywhere. It's anywhere.
Okay, anywhere.
It's
Okay.
any edge.
All right. Hey, listen, this is a new thing for me. Okay.
It's okay. You're fine. No. To the side. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Can you hear it?
That's it. Use this one if you want.
Yeah, I think this is what I practice with.
Whatever. You may use whatever you
Yeah,
want.
thank you. Thank you. Since I practice with this, I really don't
Okay.
blow their
You'll be
eardrums.
fine.
And blow their eardrums out.
That's right.
You did that once.
I did.
You did. It was-
Oh my God. Hi. How are you, my friend? Hi. Thank you.
You didn't know the power of your own arm.
Well, I had not done it before. It was the first time.
Something official.
Okay.
Yep. We're all on the same boat here.
Good morning. Thank you for your patience while I was gathering information. We have quite a few announcements that have been requested that I read this morning. But first of all, happy Sunday. Felt pretty good this morning, didn't it? Slight breeze, didn't quite hit 90 yet. My name is Heather Kistner. I am a lifelong UUer, and I'm a member of the board here at TVUUC. I would like to welcome you on behalf of the board, the church, and the program council at large. If you would like information about TVUUC, we do ask that you fill out the information card that you'll find in front of your seat pocket. If you are new here, our minister, Chris Bice, has been on a teaching learning vacation for the month of July, and I understand that several of the informational cards have been placed on his desk. So if you fill one out and you don't get a response tomorrow, it may be a couple of weeks before you hear from someone. So thank you in advance for your patience with our communication while he's on his well-deserved retreat. Per the CDC, Knox County current risk level is medium. Masks are required in the church. Coffee will be enjoyed outside on the patio, as well as lemonade and hot or mild or cold chocolate for the kiddos, myself included. That's my preference. The Lizzie Crozier French Room is designated viewing space for those who prefer that they be masked. That's a little bit of an old announcement, but it is available for safe viewing also. Room A is designated for families with children, all over the age of 2. And of course, you can watch our services online, and good morning to you for those of you doing that. We are each other's keepers, so we are one another's advocates. So we encourage all of you to just keep that in mind as we keep one another safe during the journey, hopefully to the end of COVID sooner than later. If you or your family are interested in our youth religious program, we do ask that you visit the educational table in the lobby. You did pass that before you entered, and that will lead me into my next announcement. We do ask that you silence your electronic devices as we enter into the service here shortly. I don't know whether I prefer like 16 font paper or like 10 font on my phone, so I don't know. I haven't found the magic key yet. All right, so what feeds your spirit? Where would you like to make your mark as part of our TVUUC community? Would you consider spending time with children or youth as a volunteer in our religious education program? As we renew and expand our Sunday morning spaces for preschoolers, elementary, middle, and high schoolers this fall, would you like to be involved? If so, we do ask that you please reach out to Catherine Farmer-Loya. We are entering a new phase, a new beginning within our religious education department, and they would love to hear from you. So again, please reach out to Catherine if you'd be interested in contributing any part of yourself to the further development of the RE. Susan Williams, is she present? Hi, Susan. I'm sorry we've not met prior. She is from the Highlander Center, and she will be giving the sermon this morning. So she will be telling us more about the Highlander Center and They are 100% designated Giving Sunday, so all of our funds this morning will be going to the Highlander Center. It is a designated offering Sunday, that's the words. So anything not marked as a pledge will go to the Highlander Center. So thank you very much for being here, Susan. We look forward to hearing from you here shortly. Here comes the paper part. All right, I have two more things. Thanks to Elnora, the lovely Elnora. All members, friends, and visitors, please visit the card table to sign thank you cards for the special sermon speakers and worship associates for this summer. And give a warm hello to our speakers before you leave. Thank you from the worship committee. Those of you who do not know where the card table is, as you enter the fellowship hall and walk forward towards the kitchen, it is the table on the right-hand side, and it's staffed generally by 1 to 2 members of our church, and they will let you know all about the cards and the recipients of those cards laid out on the table. TVUUC will be partnering with the Beck Cultural Exchange Center by giving you the opportunity starting next Sunday to buy tickets for the Beck's Red Carpet event celebrating August 8th. Does anyone know what August 8th is? Hey, Emancipation Day. Thank you, Gordon. The Beck will be screening the documentary After Selma at the Tennessee Theater. Tickets purchased through TVUUC will be at the lowest available prices and will earn our church a mention in the program. More details will be announced this week. I think even if you are not apt to getting out generally to see a showing, just the opportunity to go to the Tennessee Theater in and of itself is a glorious, glorious event. So if you've not visited the Tennessee Theater as a resident of Knoxville, I definitely encourage you to take this to be your first opportunity in doing so. It is a beautiful place. So this is a little bit more information about the Beck Cultural Exchange Center. And it is a letter written by Reverend Renee Kessler, the Beck president, dated July 15th, regarding the 8th annual of the August red carpet movie, After Selma. Thank you for your ongoing support of Beck. Your support enables us to continue this important work. In remembrance of the day of emancipation in the state of Tennessee, August 8, 1863, the Beck Cultural Exchange Center announces its 8th annual 8th of August Jubilee, and we need your support once more. As you know, this is an election year, and voter suppression remain an ongoing issue for African Americans. Throughout the course of history, the church has remained a symbol of hope and a strong voice in the cause of freedom, justice, and equality. This is the reason I am asking you to please consider supporting the upcoming 8th annual 8th of August red carpet movie screening of After Selma by Emmy-winning filmmaker Loki Mulholland, featuring Joanne Bland, the youngest person arrested during the height of the civil rights movement. On a march from Selma, Alabama to Montgomery, the state capital, in 1965, 600 people assembled at a church, prayed, and began a peaceful demonstration before being brutally attacked and beaten by police officers at the Edmund Pettus Bridge. The day would come to be known as Bloody Sunday. and was considered a turning point that led directly to the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The film After Selma recognizes that the march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge on Bloody Sunday galvanized a nation and forced the country to create the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Now, everyone could vote. What has happened since and what tactics are being used today to suppress voting rights? The fight for the right to vote continues. For nearly 50 years, Beck has remained dedicated to Black history and Black culture, and we need your support. We ask that you consider being a church supporter of this event. Thank you, Reverend Renee Kessler. I will be there at the Tennessee Theater, and I ask that each of you join me. Thank you very much for your attention in our long announcements this morning, and enjoy the service.
Good morning. And Ms. Kistner, thank you so very much. You do a beautiful job making those announcements. I am so happy this morning to introduce Susan Williams. Susan is a friend of ours, and we've been friends for a long time, but that's not the reason she's here. And by the way, she looks gorgeous today. Susan Williams grew up in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and has spent the last 33 years as a community organizer, popular educator, and now librarian and archivist at the Highlander Center. She is proudest of the new Septima Clark Learning Center at Highlander, which houses the new library and archive. She is also proud of the Mapping of Futures curriculum, initially created with Highlander Williams, Samir Hasban, and others, and which has now moved out to support solidarity economy work across the South. She is currently part of a team creating a 90th anniversary historical review of Highlander's work in the last 40 years, since Highlander has been located in New Market, Tennessee. And we also have a friend of Highlander here, Candace, and let's give her a big round of applause, too. Thank you so much.
There's a Highlander Center recording of Zilphia Horton singing "No More Mourning." The text of this spiritual ends with a vision of finding a place in heaven with those who've loved and fought before. William Grant Still is an African-American composer of classical and jazz idioms, and his composition, Summerland, is also a vision of heaven. But this is the second of three visions. The first vision is the vision of judgment, and then comes heaven, and then the third vision is of the soul's reincarnation into a new life and continued learning. These visions can mirror the Highlander Center, not just in its trial by fire and literal rebirth, but as a sacred place of learning and music. Many have found a place there with those who've loved and fought before, and then returned to the world to share and model social justice.
As we enter into worship, put away the pressures of the world that ask us to perform, to put on brave fronts. Silence the voices that ask you to be perfect. This is a community of compassion and welcoming. You do not have to do anything to earn the love contained within these walls. You do not have to be braver, smarter, stronger, better than you are in this moment to belong here with us. You only have to bring the gift of your body, no matter how able, your seeking mind, no matter how busy, your heart, no matter how broken. Bring all that you are and all that you love to this hour together. Come, let us worship together.
Seated.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our great covenant.
As drops of rain fall that find each other and build to become a track, a rivulet, a stream, a river, a sea, so we are drawn together. So we are fortunate to find each other. So we are bound together on this shared passage toward an unknown ocean and eternity.
Guide my feet while I run this race.
We affirm that love is our greatest purpose. Accepting one another is the truest form of faithful living. The search for truth is our constant star. We pledge our hearts, minds, and hands to challenge the injustice with courage, to find hope in times of fear, and to live out our Unitarian Universalist values every day as a beloved community. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all that is sacred in life.
Good morning. My name is John Montgomery, and I'm here to announce joys and concerns. Our concerns this morning, we don't have so much in specific concerns, but I know there are people here who are caring for loved ones and friends for a number of reasons. And joys today have to do with community. When I was looking at a reading for this morning, I was reminded of the idea of the family we are born into and the family we choose. Last night I had the privilege of gathering with some of the family that I've chosen over the years, people that I've known for 30, 40, almost 50 years up in Sevier County. A friend of mine was celebrating his 80th birthday. And he's a storyteller and just an all-around good person. So there were several of us there. And I was, like I say, reminded of the idea of the family that we choose. And I'm thinking about the community here. You all are part of the family that I choose. And I'm just lucky to have y'all. So, thank you. Also want to announce that the spiritual care line will be answered on an expanded basis starting soon. And that number, which is 297-3155, will be published in various places starting soon. Does that sound about right, David? Yeah, it's ongoing now. Okay. And the number will be published in the newsletter, I suspect, and other places in the bulletin, in the order of service, et cetera, et cetera. So keep an eye out for that. We will be doing listening booths on the first Sunday of each month. The next one that'll make the next one, I think, August 7th. And some of you have seen them, some of you may not have. It's a table where we set up, and they will be in 2 or 3 obvious places around the lobby, maybe in the hallway. And you'll be invited to just sit down and speak with a member of the spiritual care team about whatever might be on your mind. So look for that as well. This morning's prayer is Blessing for Community by Nancy Campbell. Spirit of kindness and compassion, we come from different places to this sacred ground of communal caring. We are enriched by the company of each other and are drawn closer to the heart of love in this time of service. Touch this gathering with tenderness so that we may be refreshed anew by the grace that encompasses this morning. Spirit of mercy, we are human and fragile and sometimes frightened. We pray for the blessing of compassion as we face our frustration and pain. We pray for the blessing of courage to help us live with the fear of losing and the sorrow of loss. We especially pray for all those among us who need to feel the warmth of love in their lives. Spirit that glows in the darkness, expand our vision of faith so we may always remember the unending circle of life and death and love reborn that surrounds us with kindness and compassion. Spirit that glistens in the light, bless this community that shares so generously with their hands and their hearts. Keep us ever mindful of the power of possibilities of love as we walk through all the seasons of our lives. Amen.
It's odd what occurs when the leader of the church is gone. As those of us who come up and conduct the service, we look at one another to see who's going to come up next and if there should be music or not music, or maybe I'm just giving myself away, but I think this is my turn. So again, my name is Heather Kistner. I am a member of the board here. And I did want to, Claudia Presley is not here. She's the director of finance here at the church. So she asked that I do the offertory this morning. You will notice in your order of service the ways to give at TVUUC. I believe that we are all familiar with them. We have a phone that we can use. We have the incredible kiosk out in the lobby that we can use. And you can go home and get on your home computer and also give to TVUUC. This morning we do have a special guest, Susan Williams, who will be delivering the service this morning. And if you do not mark on your gift this morning as it being a pledge, it is considered a 100% designated offering, so it will go to the Highlander Center. So I do encourage you to give what you can, what you feel appropriate, $1 or more. Anything will be heartfelt to the Highlander, as we know the value and the gift that it gives our community at large. So I do welcome again Susan to this morning's service.
Zilphia Horton adapted this song and taught it to Pete Seeger. It was famously sung also by Fannie Lou Hamer in 1962 when her bus was detained by police on their way back from attempting to register to vote. Singing spirituals like This Little Light of Mine became a defining feature of Fannie Lou Hamer's activism.
this? Thanks for that jazzy version of This Little Light. I'm sorry we're not singing, though, I have to say. I'm missing a lot of singing. Thank you all for having me here today. Candy told me not to be nervous, so I'm trying not to be. It's been a long time since I stood up in front of people because of COVID, but I'm very happy to be here. And I am here because Elnora asked me. And if Elnora asks me and I can do it, I will say yes. I will admit, I called Joe Taubert and I said, I'm terrified. He's talking next week. He said he was scared too, so I felt better about that. So I chose the title, Welcoming People into Movement at Highlander, because of what I've learned about the importance of welcoming strangers in my experience as a Highlander, but I also thought it was a helpful, useful topic because of the Williams family, because I was always welcomed into the Williams family, and the way this is a I worked with Landria for a long time, and the way they welcomed me into their lives, and I saw them welcome people no matter where they are, and it's a beautiful and wonderful and extraordinary thing. So I just kudos to people that do that. Also, Candy Carawan is also a fabulous welcomer, and I'll mention her in just a minute. I'm also happy to be here to talk about Highlander in this 90th anniversary year, because I also know that I've been there a long time, and I know that Highlander exists because of people that have supported it through a lot of time, and that includes your church and you all. And so it's nice to say thank you to some people in person for the support over a lot of time. I do not believe that Highlander would exist without that. So how many people have been to Highlander? Okay. How many people have heard of Highlander? Of course. Who's never heard of Highlander? Okay. So I wanted to say a little more about welcoming people, then a little brief history of Highlander, to talk about what a miracle it is that it's still there, some about what we actually do at Highlander, and then catch you all up a little bit on our current work, and I won't talk very long, I don't think. So just a few words about welcoming. I first came to Highlander when I was 23. I was sent there from Save Our Cumberland Mountains. They told me I was going there. I had no idea what it was. I got there and there's all these amazing people and I don't know where I am and I don't know anything about organizing. And Candy Carawan welcomed me and talked to me and acted like I was somebody. And Nina Reining, I don't know how many of you knew Nina, who was a workshop center manager for decades, but we used to help wash dishes. So I would go in and wash dishes and I talked to Nina a lot. And I very specifically remember the fact that Nina and Candy talked to me like I was, somebody interesting and encouraging me to do stuff. And that's a huge thing. So there's a lot of stories like that about Highlander. I think it's Dorothy Cotton. Candy and I were debating about this, but people make up stories all the time. So Dorothy Cotton, who led the citizenship schools after they left Highlander, and there's a new film coming out about her, which we're going to be previewing at the Highlander Homecoming. She talked about coming to Highlander in Monteagle. So here was this African-American woman coming to a very white, very rural Appalachian county, which is a very improbable thing, and being welcomed and given tea from Septima Clark. And she specifically remembered somebody making her feel at home in this most odd and alien place. So I think, in reflecting, I think that COVID's damaged our welcoming and curiosity chops. I really feel that, as has the toxic political climate and making us more afraid to talk to people. And I think that we all benefit from welcoming strangers. We work really hard to welcome people at Highlander who are strangers to us. But I was thinking about how we don't look up from our phones to say hello, and people are at their computers when you walk in a place. And that when I go in a place and somebody talks to me, sometimes it's kind of an odd thing. And so I think a big part of working at Highlander is welcoming and encouraging people to come into the space, become part of the group, and be brave. And as we open Highlander back up, we've been closed for a couple years, so trying to do this online, that I want to be sure that we are sure to welcome people, to meet and greet people, get them settled, and give them a cup of tea if they need it. A quick review of Highlander's most improbable 90-year history. Highlander Folk School started in 1932 in the depths of the Depression in a rural county, Grundy County, out of the dreams of young people, Miles Horton and Don West, Zilla Hauslater and others, and the generosity of an older woman, Dr. Lillian Johnson, who had a place and had buildings, and who gave these young kind of upstarts who made her kind of nervous, said she could use their land and buildings, and then a year later she gave them. And so if they hadn't been given this land and buildings, they never would have been able to actually acquire enough resources to do that in the Depression. So that's how they started. And so what did they do? They started working in the community, and that quickly, and they wanted to bring people together in some kind of educational experience. They weren't quite sure what, but it was sort of the beginning of more labor organizing in the South. So they started working with bugwood cutters in Grundy County, bringing them together, helping them get organized. They worked with coal miners, they worked with textile workers and auto workers, and became kind of an educational center. So what did people do? So I was like, I want to like sort of explain what people do, because it's not so mysterious. So they would come, they would be welcomed, they would get a place to sleep, they would eat, they would sit around and talk to each other and learn from each other. They would learn about laws and policies, they would write plays, they would sing songs, they would get ideas and strategies and build relationships and go home and hopefully create more havoc than more social justice, not havoc, social justice than they had been able to do before with additional relationships. And so that's what we've continued to do. And it doesn't sound that dangerous, but it clearly must be. Bernice Regan talks about Highlander moving through time. So we move through time in terms of the issues we work on with what's happening in the South and Appalachia. So it might be labor organizing. Later, the civil rights movement was the primary focus. And then once Highlander's been in Newmarket, there was been a lot of work in Appalachia around economics and environment, a lot of work around immigrant rights, working with young people, working with LGBTQ communities, and now fighting state violence in these most egregious of ways. So we've always sort of just brought people together to learn from each other. And it's very powerful, it's not very easy, and it takes a lot of work, but it's a really incredible, beautiful thing. And it can be done anywhere. So that will bring me to a point a little bit later about our methodologies. So almost from the very beginning, Highlander was attacked by the manufacturers in the 30s, called communist even then, attacked by Tennessee politicians and police. The legislature had hearings. The state took the property in Monteagle, which was like a bunch of buildings and land that people had put their blood, sweat, and tears into building, took it away, confiscated it completely. They moved to Knoxville for a brief period. Kaz Walker attacked them. I think some people in this church helped during that period. I've heard stories. And then moved to Newmarket, where we've been since 1971. And faced attacks, the most egregious being the office fire in 2019. And then COVID. So through funding challenges, economic crashes, internal conflicts, staff coming and going, moving multiple times, and just the challenges of the region. And when I look out and know all this, I really do believe that Highlander's existence is something of a miracle. Now, I'm not that religious, so I use the word miracle in kind of I don't use it often, so I do use it about Highlander. That 90 years of an institution in the South to still be here is a miracle. And it's a miracle of people working together. And people like you. So, sorry, this makes me want to cry because I feel a lot about this, and it's making me think about Alandria. So anyway. So what do we do that's so dangerous at Highlander? At our best, we do these things. We look for people who want to change their communities, and hopefully, as we all grow, the world will change, and we invite them to come to Highlander. We help people find us. We welcome people when they arrive on the Hill into a circle, and we have them talk to each other and learn from each other. We feed them well. We house them in spaces with each other. We sing, we dance. Well, this is all pre-COVID, of course, and now. We tell stories, and we share ideas and strategies and look for solutions. We also have conflicts. We work to build bridges. We work to help people learn and grow, and we're also developing a larger analysis about how their issues are connected to each other and how we can reach higher to change systems. And I was listening to Hafida's talk last week with you all about the machete of love. Anybody? And I was like, oh, that's a very good acronym. It's like this sort of almost physical activity of clearing the space between us so that people can come together. So I just really loved that Hafida used that term. So a shout out to Hafida, wherever you are. So machete of love for Alandria, and I think that's a good metaphor for that. It's not easy to build bridges and work with people across race and geography and space and language, but the importance of that is critical. So we also travel to communities, go to actions, conferences, meetings to support people and share people. We help people get to other countries and other communities to get ideas and learn in the less COVID days. We provide language interpretation to help people talk to each other. We ask people what they are taking home and what they plan to do. And we provide opportunities for continuing connection. So I wanted to just say a little bit about how we talk about our work. When I first came to Highlander, people were like, I'm at Highlander. And I'm like, you can do what we do other places. You don't have to be at Highlander. So that's why we started talking more about our methodologies. And a lot of this will not be anything startling or new to you all, but we're trying to be more visible and transparent about what we try to do. So we've created these beautiful one-pagers that are downloadable on our website, and you all will get a link. And I contacted Rachel Plattis. She's a good friend of Lander who is working on Beautiful Solutions book, which will be coming out the next year, which is to share solutions of solidarity economy work around the world. And I told her what I was going to talk about. So she wrote something back to me. So I'm going to read what she wrote. So first I'll just sort of list how we talk about our methodologies. We talk about popular education. Everybody teaches and everybody learns. Culture organizing, that everybody has culture, that it's a thing that can bring people together to tell stories and inspire. Language justice, that what the language people speak is important and is from their heart and their dreams, and that we need people to be able to talk to each other, so we need to do interpretation and translation. Intergenerational organizing, that we all need each other and we need multiple spaces of people across age. Participatory action research, that people can get information and use it. And land legacy in place, that land is important, that our histories are important, and that our places are important. So that's kind of how we talk about our methodologies. We do have, once again, a beautiful two-page, one-pager, as a kind of introduction. And Rachel Plattis wrote me back this: I think there's something about how Highlanders' methodologies themselves are acts of welcome. In popular education, your wisdom is welcome and needed here. With language justice, the ways you communicate are needed and welcome here. Cultural organizing. The cultural parts of our lives and families are beautiful and strengthening, and we welcome you to share these. Intergenerational organizing. We need people of all ages to come together to share their wisdom and learn from one another, so welcome to each other. And there are also the literal material acts of hospitality. We will nourish you with food and song. We will make sure you have a bed. We will meet your access needs so that you can bring your gifts. And to me, the most important part of radical welcome is a willingness and desire to be changed by the people we welcome. When we invite people in, they change us. When people feel welcome in movements change, and if we mean it, they become more powerful. That's the wisdom from Rachel Plattis. Let me just share a little bit about what Highlander's been doing. We've been in the Zoom world for a couple years, so just like you all. So we've been working hard to connect and welcome people in that space. So we've been doing mutual aid workshops, methodology workshops, survival workshops. We had a youth program last year and a children's camp that were virtual. We've had a solidarity economy squadship that was pretty much virtual. And I did want to put in a plug for People's Hub, because I don't think Hafida said a lot about that last week, which is that Elandria went to People's Hub before COVID and had a vision about having more online training. And People's Hub became a huge contributor to helping us all learn how to use Zoom in a more participatory way. And they were like, they were there at the time when people really needed them, and they did a huge amount of work. We were doing a project with the AFL-CIO to help them think about how to be online, and they used People's Hub to train them. So we were learning just like everybody else. We've done the curriculum of mapping our futures online. So now, finally, we're starting to have people back, yay. We just had our Children's Justice Camp. I don't know if anybody's kids participated in the Children's Justice Camp. It's been going for decades. There we go. But they were back this summer. They were just throwing water balloons at each other the other day when I was at the new library. And it was like, oh, the children are back. So that's happening this week. And that's been going for, I don't know, 40 years, Candy? 50 years? I don't know, long time. The Seeds of Fire Fellowship program we've been doing with local East Tennessee young people, people of color, rural young people, trans and queer young people, and immigrant young people, building their organizing and leadership skills. And it's led by a young staff and led by a youth advisory committee, so it's a really beautiful youth space. We are part of many coalitions. We are part of the New Economies Coalition. We're part of the Ashley Henderson, our co-ED, is on the leadership team for Movement for Black Lives. We participate in regional efforts like Southern Movement Assembly and the New Economy Coalition. We have webinar series going. We have one around election protection for southern states. We've been doing workshops on our methodologies and survival, and lots of other online events. And we have a new library, which is what I am part of. The Septima Clark Learning Center, our old library, fell into disrepair. And so we broke ground before the fire, and it got finished a couple years ago when there was nobody there. So we've been waiting for people to come back. But in the meantime, we have a small library and a small archive, and we're working to build an online resource where you can research our books and collections, connect to materials in other places, find digital materials about Highlander, which has been so hard to find. So we're entering the new age, yay. It's a lot of work. But we're really proud of the new library. And so, especially in the light of the fire and COVID, everything else, it seems like kind of another amazing thing. It's beautiful, great deck. Y'all welcome to come to see it. And so the best way to stay in touch with Highlander is to sign up for our View from the Hill newsletter. It's an email newsletter. It comes out about every week since COVID. And it's full of things we are doing and then a lot of interesting things from other movements and people. So if you go to our website, we'll send out these links afterwards if we figure out who can do that in your congregation. So I encourage people to sign up for the View from the Hill newsletter because it's a nice way to know kind of some regional things that are happening. We're having our 90th homecoming, September 30th through October 2nd. Hopeful to have some in-person and virtual events. We will be screening the Dorothy Cotton film that I mentioned earlier. We will maybe screening a new film about Rosa Parks. There's going to be great music. There'll be online and virtual events. I mean, events in person, depending on what happens with COVID. But if you get the View from the Hill, you'll learn about that. And the homecoming is kind of an amazing thing, and it's the 90th anniversary. And then we also online, you can visit our bookstore and make donations, and so that's always welcome. And we have lots of great books. If you come out to Highlander, you can actually see the books. So that's kind of all I wanted to share. I did want to say I brought several copies of this that are out in the lobby. So if anybody wants, there's a couple in Spanish, and then there's some English ones. So I sort of feel like this is a lot of what I've learned at Highlander, and I'm always learning, and it's useful stuff in any place. And I want to thank you all for your generosity again today. It's just, I always feel like my life has been lived parallel to UUs, because I grew up in Oak Ridge with some of my best friends being UUs. So here I am, parallel to the UUs, and happy to be here. Thank you all for having me, and appreciate your time.
Prophetic Church, the future awaits your liberating ministry. Go forward in the power of love, proclaim the truth that makes us free.